Kamala, what are you doing? That's not your idea. Stop stealing Trump's ideas. Sheesh.
Cut taxes for workers and families after Trump gave a $2 trillion tax cut skewed to billionaires and big corporations. Defend overtime protections for millions of workers.
Come on, Karine, you're just reading. Just read it.
So what's interesting is that young voters and also ended up black voters didn't change all that much between where Biden was in Pennsylvania in July and where Harris is now.
Kamala Harris is stealing Trump's policies, including the no tax on tips idea. And CBS News is saying it's not thievery, it's just a nice little echo. See how that works? Here's what the story says. Kamala's rolling out a new policy position. First one I've heard of this entire time, and she stole it from Trump. Says that she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. And it's really curious because if you remember, she was the person who voted, says this is ridiculous. Kamala was the tie-breaking vote. She says, as vice president, I was proud to cast the tie-breaking vote to pass the Inflation Reduction Act. Today, we're celebrating this is historic investment. So all of the inflation, thanks Kamala, thanks for being the tiebreaker. And all of the new money that we spent to pass that was going to the IRS, a big portion of it, to crack down on waiters' tips. See, Fox News reported that back on February 7, 2023. IRS introduces a new service industry tip reporting program. So she stole it from Trump, and she's got a history of actually supporting more taxes on tips and more enforcement on it. It's a very weird thing that's happening. Here is what Kamala sounded like when she said it.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Hospitality workers or something? But anyways, so she's saying no taxes on tips stolen directly from Trump. In fact, Kamala is stealing it so hard, she's trying to even sound like Trump. This is what Kamala sounded like on the campaign trail.
So this is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Kamala, what are you doing? That's not your idea. Stop stealing Trump's ideas. Sheesh. Come up with your own thoughts for once, for crying out loud. Okay, the media is having normal reaction to this. Here's how they respond to two different people with varying proposals. CBS News, when Trump had this idea, posted this. They said, former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. Wow, that's a lot of money. Now watch, Kamala comes back out. Here's her idea. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. It's so rigged. It's like, you CBS weirdos, come on guys, have some honor and integrity. Like a month apart, 2 months apart, it's the same idea. She just stole it. What are you talking about? Bonchi over on X shared this one. Kamala Harris, who now claims to be against taxing tips, was the tie-breaking vote on the IRA. She posted that one. Incredible stuff. Called it the most authentic and AstroTurf campaign in history from Bonchi. Now, Karine got asked about this. Karine, they said, you know, Kamala is not talking to the media at all. She has no policy positions on her website at all. Do you think that we're going to hear from her? And what's up with this thievery of Trump's ideas, Karine?
Over the weekend, Vice President said she followed former President Donald Trump in saying she would support a proposal that would not tax tipped wages. A similar bill made its way to the President of the United States, President Biden. Would he sign that? Was that something that's something he would have embraced before?
Absolutely. Look, this is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers while also raising minimum wage and preventing the wealthy from gaining the system. And if you think about what the president has talked about the last 3.5 years, making sure that we have an economy that works for all, not leaving anybody behind, an economy that's built from the bottom up, middle out. The president has been fighting, and the vice president is fighting to do just that. Think about raising the minimum wage, which the Trump administration, they blocked. Cut taxes for workers and families after Trump gave a $2 trillion tax cut skewed to billionaires and big corporations. Defend overtime protections for millions of workers.
Come on, Karine, you're just reading. Just read it.
Ensure workers have the freedom to join a union which the Trump administration undermined. You hear it talk about Maganomics and what the GOP is for. Therefore, giving tax breaks from billionaires and corporations. They want price gouging. That's what they want to see. They don't want to protect.
Republicans want price gouging. Okay, so that's Karine. All right, just barely scraping by. She's like, I'm not even going to prepare for this crap. I'll just give me the note card. I'll just go read it. What do I care? We're going to be out of a job anyways here any minute now. So yes, there's more of this. Some people are noticing that maybe the Kamala fever and excitement is starting to break a little bit. CNN, MSNBC here reacting, saying, you know, it's kind of looking like the demographic shift that we were expecting ain't happening.
With young people, is there any data on that?
So what's interesting is that young voters and also ended up black voters didn't change all that much between where Biden was in Pennsylvania in July and where Harris is now. Independents did move in Harris's direction.
Yeah, and wait till they get to know her more. Yeah, things are going to continue to be rough from there. And so Kamala steals something else in her campaign. She's not a real person, just a generic candidate that the Democrats love because they've not been touched by a politician in quite some time. She's a lot more attractive than Joe Biden is for their political feelings. And so we'll see what people think once they get to know her.